Welcome to week 6, day 27 of the fall 2024 Programming Fundamentals with C Sharp. My name is Jim Coppeth with Rankin Technical College. So today we're going to be covering, we're going to just go ahead and do a code along on the FlashCard, which is the part, chapter 6, chapter 12. That would help if I had the right thing here. So we're going to go over the chapter 12 labs part 1, and it's the very first lab of the part 1. We'll go over flashcard, and then I'm going to go ahead and walk through, we'll walk through the chapter 12 labs part 2 as well, but I'm going to go ahead and, the one that's the most difficult one is to do with the Sunday, the order and the Sundays. So I'm going to go ahead and go through that a little more in depth. So let's go ahead and get started with this flashcard. I'm going to get things pulled up here. Okay, so here's the GUI for the flashcard. A couple things I just want to point out here on this is these two fields down here, this text box and this button. I went ahead and set visible to false for both of these so that they won't show up until we set the visibility back to true. Okay. Let's just see what happens here. Okay, good. All right. So the first thing we're wanting to do here is two different ways you can do this, but first you need to click on the project, not the solution, but actually on the project. And then there's two ways you can do this. You can either right click and do add. Okay. And then you come down here and choose class. Or the other way, just so you know both ways, is go up here to project, right? And then click add class. So we're going to add a class, and we're going to call this class flashcard. Okay. Add that, and then in here you can leave this internal, but or just override it with. So if you look at the flashcard UML, if you go down a ways on that, you'll see C# implementation, and here's a possible C# implementation of flashcard class. If you just want to grab that, you can grab that whole class there and then replace it with that right there. And you can save that. Okay. So now we have, and a lot of times with different classes, it's best not to, you can actually add a class. You can even add this class within your form in that directly. You drop this whole chunk of code right into your form, but it's really best, from a best practices and just to separation of concerns kind of thing. You want to keep, it's easy to get this form just, it's a huge monolithic form with a whole bunch of stuff in there. You kind of want to break it up into different pieces, right? That's a lot of what's part of, object-oriented programming is you want to create different classes that have certain functions. And then also if for some reason, if you do it that way, you can actually, this is reusable, and this could be reused by a different application. If you just include everything together in your form, maybe at some point in time, you're going to want to use the same thing, but instead of using a Win form for your GUI, for your user interface, you want to do a web, you want to do a web-based one. So if you have it separated, then it's easy to go ahead and do that, right? So we go ahead and create this flashcard class, and now if we go back to our form, so what we're wanting to do here is at the top of our form, and I already got this created, so I'm just going to copy it in there, and I'll let you spend time to So here we're going to go ahead and create a list, okay? Create a list of flashcards. So you can go ahead and what you're doing here is you're doing 5 of them. So you can, you can use whatever you want here. I did ones, flashcards that are relevant to our class, right? An object, a method, a property, constructor, an interface. So we create this new list, and you got to make sure you have a flashcard. That's your type, right? So we've done lists before where we made them list of strings or integers or whatever, but in this case, it's a list of flashcards, okay? Flashcard objects, right? So if you want to go ahead and put this together, whatever you want to do, whatever term you want to use, just do it just like this. Make sure that you have a comma after each one, okay? And also make sure that you have your semicolon, okay? So I'm going to pause the recording while you guys do that. Okay, so then obviously from the GUI you want to click the define button. And then the first thing I'm going to do here in this define button, maybe I'll just cheat and cut and paste and make it easier on myself. So in here, I'm going to actually, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get the term, right? And this is my text box, which I defined as define, whatever you defined your, whatever you named yours. And I'm getting so I'm going to get the term from that text box, right? And then from there, I'm going to create this Boolean term found equals false. Okay. And then I'm also creating a message. I don't know that term yet. What does it mean? So I'm just, creating some variables here. And then from there, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a for each, and I'm going to loop through. I'm going to loop through each card in the card list. I did change that to card list, didn't I? Yeah. So looping through, each card in the card list, right? I've got my term here, and I'm doing a to lower if that equals the card.get term, right? And that get term is defined within the class card object, right? Get term, right? See, we were always used to doing everything, all in a form, but now we're getting data from, other classes. So if card.get term to lower, if they're equal, then I say the term's true, and then I do the card.get definition, right? And then obviously, so what it's basically doing, you create these objects, all these different objects. I should say it this way, since I had object here too, it's kind of confusing. So all these flashcard objects, this is a constructor, right? So this constructor here, we're doing a new flashcard, right? And so that's that new, I probably didn't go over that, I'm sorry. So here's your flashcard object, you have a term and a definition. And that's what we're doing. We're creating a new object using that constructor for each flashcard, and then we're giving it a term and a definition. So then if the term is found is true, equals true, and then we'll go ahead and do the get definition on that card, okay? And then if it's not true, what I'm doing here, if the item's not found, then I am going to set my result to the message. The message up here is I don't know that term yet. What does it mean? And then I'm setting the visibility of both the add definition, which was the text box for the add, and then also the add button. And I'm setting those to true, so they will display. So let me know when you guys get that completed. Okay, so now we'll go ahead and look, make sure that this is working as far as the ones that are already existing. So we have object, which is the first one, define, a block of memory that has been allocated and configured according to the blueprint. So there we go. Which ones I forgot the other ones I put here. So constructor, right? Method, okay. Should be able to handle lowercase. Method encapsulates codes. I'm not sure why that happened like that. Well, I'll have to check this out as we do this. Okay. Okay. Term not found. Okay. So the next thing we're going to do is for the button add, what we're wanting to do in there. So we're going to grab the term again. We're going to grab the term. And we're going to grab the definition. This is when it has, when the only reason the add button is going to come up is if it didn't find it, then it's going to come up with the add button and the other text to add the definition, right? And then we're going to go ahead and do the card count is going to be our card list.count, so we know what our card count is. So currently it's going to be 5, right? And then I'm just going to go ahead and paste this all in here. So then basically what we're going to do here, let's do this is less than or equal to, probably the more correct way to do that. So our card count is less than or equal to 20. We're going to keep adding cards, right? So we're creating a new FlashCard object, okay? Creating a new FlashCard object called new card, and we're using the constructor to add the term, which we got from our define box, and then the definition is the one that the definition is one that we got from our add definition text box, right? And then we're going to take our card list and we're going to add the new card. And then I'm just, here I'm just taking the label result and putting the term and definition, showing that it was added. And we change the add, go back and reset this to add the text add definition visibility to false. And then the add button also visibility to false, so it's gone, okay? And then, but we're gonna also need to do else here, aren't we? And then here we just do, you've reached the maximum number of cards. So that's only if the card count is basically greater than 20. So go ahead and get this completed. I'll pause while you're doing that recording. Okay, so yeah, we kind of had a little problem because the add button and the text was showing up even after you added one and then tried to define, tried to search for a term. So we went ahead and added the in here, went ahead and add to make sure that the visibility is false. If we do find a term, make sure you change the visibility to both of these to be false. So let's check this out and see if everything works here. Okay. And then look at it. That works. And then we'll put an object here. Okay. I think we're good with this. So please let me know if you have any questions about this. The important thing here, is make sure you always, your FlashCard here, make sure you have this as a separate object, a standalone object, right? Has nothing to do with the form, right? Has nothing to do with the form whatsoever. Okay, it's outside, it's outside the form. So we're going to go ahead and go over the Chapter 12 Labs Part 2. So this first one here, Lab 1 food order, this is the big one. It's got a kind of pretty complex UML diagram below here, okay? Don't get too intimidated by it. We'll go through some things that'll help you with this. Let me first kind of looking at this. So as you can see, you put a name of the order, right? And then you choose, do you want a sundae, yes or no? Do you want a soda? Yeah, it's not yes or no. You either check it or not. And then obviously burger toppings is wrong there. It should be, sundae toppings, but that's okay. And then here you can basically, you're going to have logic to say, hey, you only can choose 2, right? Here it's choosing all 3. And then here for the drink mix-ins, you only can have 1 flavor, either lime, peach, or mango. And then over here, looks like we're using like a rich text box. So I'm going to bring up, I have an example of this for you as well. Get that up here. So just kind of to show you the UI portion of this. Maybe I'll make this a little bit bigger on, I don't know how well you guys can see all of this. Make it at least a little bigger here. I'd have to play around with it to really get this. Maybe just won't do it as big. Make it a little smaller. Okay, so here, just wanted to go through a few things. Actually, let me just go ahead and let me put this back the way it was. So a few things here, because one thing we haven't used like checkboxes before, right? Which I know that you guys have been doing this enough that you probably understand what to do here, but you just grab the checkbox and drag it over here, right? Or right, or however or you can double click it for it to go over here as well, right? So here, just want to point out a couple things with the checkbox. So over here, you've got that checkbox yes. So you do have text, which is basically just the kind of the label of it, right? The label of the text box is going to be your text there, okay? Another thing that's helpful here also, to kind of make it look like, what we have here, right, in our, within our GUI thing here, right? So to have it look like that, we could use a what's called a rich text box, right? And that rich text box is down here, rich text box, and you drag that over, right? And then you just populate the data within there, okay? Another thing, what it's kind of doing here is, you know, you've got a label. You're just putting your error labels, right, in here. But then setting the visibility of them to false. So already putting in your labels for your errors. You know, obviously this is one way to do it, right? Or you can, you know, or you can dynamically do it in your code all the time. But it's nice just to have the labels just like this, and then just so they're already there, and then you just set the visibility to false, and then if you want that to show, you can set the visibility to true on those. Okay. We'll have to look at that a little bit. And then obviously it's using a field thing here to a group box, a group to group these together, right? Which I know we did that before. What else? Okay, so I think the big thing I wanted to go through here, um, actually some concepts here. So one thing it does say in this lab, a couple things. Well, one is enums, right? And that's short for enumeration, right? So enumerations are, let me just show you an example of it. So actually in here, you can create an enumeration, and the this toppings and the flavor, these are both enumerations. I'm not going to show you all this code in here, but these are both enumerations, right? And as you can see, it says enum here. So actually to create one of these, just like you would create a new class, you go up to your project, right? And then just you could do right click and do an add, and actually just add it as a class, right? You can add it as a class, or you can add a new item, right? But you just need to make sure, either way you can do that. Here, let me just do this. And so here's enum1, right? But then you have to change it, right? You're going to have to change it. You're going to have to change it so it is like this: public enum, and the name of what you're calling it, right? This needs to correlate with the name of your file, right? The same as the name of your file, right? So you can either do that 2 times by using add an item, right? Or you can add it as a class and just change this to an enum, okay? And these are your options for your enum. None, sprinkles, nuts, and chocolate syrup. Now, some of the reasons to why do you use an enum as opposed to maybe just like a list of things. An enum is, and maybe this actually isn't the best example. We're using these toppings because it can change, but usually an enum is good for like days of the week: Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, right? Things like that. Months of the year, you know, January, February, something that's pretty much not going to change, right? Here, you know, maybe you could have some more toppings, but whatever. Just in this example for this lab, they used enum for the toppings, right? So, you know, when you're dynamic, so it's like some of the lists we created, like we had the FlashCard multiple. Whenever you have a list of multiple items and you're adding new items all the time, then you don't want to use an enum. You know, you want to use an enum when you pretty much have things set. Okay, these are going to be, in this case, these are our toppings, and so these are your choices, and where it's not pretty much going to change within your program. Okay. Obviously, you can always change your enum and add things, but it just makes sense to use one where it's pretty much set, and these are your options you want within your enum. Okay. The other thing I wanted to bring up here is the idea of I got too much stuff open is my problem here. Is this idea of composition. And so what composition means, it's, as far as from an object-oriented programming perspective, there's a bunch of concepts. And it's pretty complex to really understand it real well. It's not something we just you spend one day and okay, now I understand it all. It takes time, and you could most likely it's gonna take you months, sometimes years for people to understand all the different concepts and how it all fits together, right? It's something that your knowledge will evolve as time goes on. Okay. And another thing I did want to kind of mention is within our book, it doesn't even really touch a lot on a lot of the different concepts. Okay, but when this lab was written by an instructor. Okay, and so he just one of the things he mentioned here is you want to demonstrate composition. So what composition is, it kind of represents a strong ownership relationship between like two classes. It implies that like one class is composed of one or more instances of another class, being that the one class is the whole thing, and the other classes, right? That are part of that are parts, right? And so let me I know that's kind of confusing in itself, but basically what you got is you got a class, but within that class you have other classes that you bring into that, right? And so let me give you an example. It's like how we create variables for different things, right? So let's just say you had a car object. Well, a car object has an engine, right? And that engine could be should be an object in itself. There's different things that engine does, right? And different properties of the engine. So it makes sense that engine is an object of itself. So the car has an engine. So you know how we added a FlashCard within our form, but what I'm talking about, like multiple objects here outside of a form, right? So if you have a car object, you include an engine within that car object, right? So the engine is part of that car, right? So it's kind of talking about the whole of something. The complete car is made up of other objects as well. So there's relationships between that car and that engine, right? A car has an engine, right? So there's different relationship between except composition, but really the composition thing is more of a strong considered a strong relationship, and it kind of means that one thing cannot exist without the other, right? And so really a true car really cannot exist without an engine, right? The same thing is, like, let's just say a house, right? You have your house has a foundation, it has walls, it has a roof, it has all these pieces that make it a house, right? Well, if you remove the foundation, if you remove the foundation, right? You don't have a house anymore, right? And that's a very strong relationship. So if pretty much your foundation goes away, right? Or if your foundation goes away, your house goes away, right? I mean, it's a very strong relationship, right? Sometimes something can have something. Let's just say, your pocket has change in it, right? Your pocket has keys in it, right? But if you take the change or the keys out of your pocket, they still exist on their own, right? They don't need your pocket, right? I know that can be a little bit confusing. I'm just kind of trying to make a little bit of an analogy there. Um, so with relation to this, it's basically saying a Sunday, right? A Sunday has, if you look here, has toppings, right? A Sunday has toppings, right? So the relationship here, so this is pretty much saying in a way, and this isn't probably the best example here, but it's basically saying that a Sunday topping, obviously, sprinkles, nuts, and chocolate syrup could exist outside of, you know, have a Sunday, but it's just saying the toppings. It's referring to Sunday toppings. If you have Sunday toppings, right, you have Sunday toppings. If you don't have a Sunday, right, the Sunday toppings, you can't have a Sunday toppings without the Sunday, right? It's really actually not a very good analogy here on this UML. The same thing is a soda flavor, right? The flavor by itself can't exist without the soda, right? Um, so, so it's here. The Sunday toppings can't exist without the Sunday, and the soda flavor can't. For a soda to have flavor, it has to have a soda, right? For a Sunday to have Sunday toppings, right? It has to have a Sunday to have Sunday toppings, right? I know, and these concepts are a little hard. It takes a while to understand some of this. Okay, so don't worry about it too much. I guess from the perspective of this saying demonstrate composition, you'll be demonstrate composition by referencing your Sunday toppings from within your Sunday, and then also referencing your soda flavor from your soda. Okay, so that's showing composition, right? That soda has and a good a good test. It's a little more complex than this, but a good test is a has-a. So soda has a soda flavor. Sunday has a Sunday, here it's one or more topping. Sunday has toppings, right? It's has a relationship, okay? So when it's saying to basically demonstrate composition, that's all you really need for this lab. That's all you really need to worry about is make sure that you actually include toppings in your Sunday and including flavor within your soda, okay? Which refers to this. This is in this. And when I say in this is a separate item outside of here, but you're referencing it from inside of here. You're referencing your Sunday topping from inside your Sunday, and you're referencing your soda flavor from within soda. Okay? So actually, and I just want to bring this up, and I don't want to confuse anybody too much here, but composition is considered a strong form of that has a relationship. It's basically saying that where the part is tied to the life cycle of the whole, right? So a Sunday topping's not going to exist without a Sunday. The soda flavor cannot exist without a soda, right? Now, a different kind of relationship is called aggregation, and it's a weaker, right? And it's basically is that it's a has a relationship, but the part can exist independently of a whole. And that's where I was talking about you could have, you have a pocket, and that pocket has keys, and that pocket has coins. You take them coins and those keys out of the pocket, right? The pocket can still exist, right? And well, if you got rid of your pocket, right, you still have your keys and your coins, right? They can still exist outside of there. What else I want to go over here? So an order. So what this is saying here, this one refers to there's just one order. Okay, there's only one order. So each order. And, in the real world, obviously, an order could have multiple Sundays. But for this specific lab, our order can only have a Sunday can have zero or one sundaes or 0 or 1 sodas. It's either a yes or a no for either one, right? So what this is showing, you've got one order, right? That's what this one represents. The 0.1, this represents that this order can have 0 or 1 sundaes, okay? Same thing here. This order can have 0 or 1 sodas, all right? So that's not too bad, right? Here, this gets a little more complicated. And so basically here, though, what you're saying is there are, for Sunday, there's 0 to many, okay? 0 to many options. And then also for soda, there's 0. The asterisk means many, 0 to many, 0 to many. So Sunday has 0 to many options, right? But here it's saying that you can only have 2 of them, right? There's multiple options to choose from, but here it's saying you only can choose 2. So you can choose sprinkles and nuts, or sprinkles and chocolate, or you can have none as well, right? 0 to 2, right? Here, this is stating that you can only select 0 or 1 soda flavor. So you only can have 1 lime, peach, or mango, or not at all, right? So it's kind of wondering if anybody has, well, let's go through a few more things here. 'Cause, I know this is a lot. So here, obviously, how you've got this, we've kind of went through this, but let's just review. When it starts out with a dash here, right, that means it's private, right? And so these are basically instance variables: underscore name, underscore Sunday, underscore soda, right? And it's the name is a string, right? The Sunday is of type Sunday, and a soda is a type soda. So these objects, this order has these objects in it, right? So your order object is going to have these directly in it, right? Same way for Sunday. Sunday is going to have your topping, your toppings, right? It's going to have this enum. It's going to be referring to that, and then your soda is going to be referring to soda flavor, right? Down here, these are basically these are your, this is your getters, and these are your getters for Sunday soda and price, okay? So price is a new one that's price is here on Sunday too, though, right? So basically here, so name, so this is, okay. Yeah. So yeah, you're not, to create an order, you don't need a price, right? You're going to be getting your price later. You're going to be doing the price thing separate from this. But sorry, so back here, basically here's your name, which refers to your, which is going to be, refers to your instance variable name. Sunday refers to the Sunday here instance, and soda refers to the instance of your soda, right? And these plus sign means they're public, right? And these are your this is how you access your variables, right? Just like we've done before. And so here you've got an order. So if you see something like this, you're going to notice if it says order, if the name here is the same thing as the name of your class, this is a constructor. So this is how you will be setting your values, right? You will set your value. You're going to set these values using this, okay? And then it also has a soda. Yeah, has a Sunday, has a soda. Yeah. So you're just setting it to true or false. Has a Sunday and has a soda, right? Them are basically your check boxes, right? Your check boxes either If it's checked, it's true. If it's not checked, it's false. Right? Your name on your order, that's your text box. Right? Um, Here for the Sunday, you've got two constants. You have a base price. So in your Sunday object, right, you're going to have your separate Sunday object, a standalone object. It'll have two constants, base price and topping price. And then you're going to have your toppings, which is your enumeration of toppings. Okay. And I'll create something separate, a separate video, a little bit explaining. I'm not going to do the exact thing for this lab, but something similar, so it'll help you understand that. And then you have a topping count, how many toppings, and then there's your price. Your price of your sundae will be within Sunday itself. Okay, and so then, so here you're going to have your topping count and your price, and well, and these are your, these are your properties. These are your properties, right? If you kind of remember, and maybe we need to look at that again. Maybe you need to do a quick review. So you have your instance value. Your properties are used to set your instance variables, right? So your topping count, right? This, either set or get. In this case, you're just getting them, right? In this case, you're just getting them, right? And then here you've got a Sunday constructor, right? You always know it's a constructor if it's got the same name as the class, right? And you've got a get topping, and you've got an add topping, okay? So that's how you're going to instead of doing a set topping, you're going to actually do an add topping. So you'll add toppings, and then you can see how many toppings you added, and that will be your count. Okay. Soda. So on soda here, you've got two constants. You have a base price, and you have a flavor price. And you also you got two instance variables. One's a flavor and one's a price. Here's your properties, which is one's flavor and one's price. And then here's your constructor, which you have a soda. So it's just a open and close, right? Soda, constructor for soda. And then you have an add flavor. Okay? So you'll add you'll add a flavor. And obviously in this case, you're only gonna be able to add one, right? In the case up here, you'll be able to add toppings. You'll be able to add up to two toppings, right? But down here, you'll only be able to add one flavor. So we'll go ahead and look at this lab number 2. This is conferences, right? And here's your UI. You got a group name, a starting date, attendees, and room. And you do an add. And then we do a begin and end. So here for this, you're going to have this enum, right? So we just looked at how to create that. And so you just would go ahead and define it like this. Room 101 equals 101, okay? So do all of those in one enum. So you're going to have that object. And then you're going to also have a conference object. Okay, and then you're going to have a display property that's going to display everything. Has a method name display that returns a string in the format attendees, name, date. Okay. So here you've got your different properties of your conference object. You're going to have a group name. You're going to have a group name, and you're going to have a get and set. You're going to have a starting date and with a get and set. You're going to have attendees with a get and set, and you're going to have a room with a get and set, right? Obviously, this isn't as hard as Lab 1, but you know, there still can be some challenges in here. And like I said, I'll make sure that I go ahead and create a couple videos on some of the concepts here to make sure everybody understands them to be able to complete these. And here's Lab 3 on Playdens. So what I'll probably do on this one here, so you got just one screen, not much here. That's using this rich text as well box to populate, you know, for data. But I will do, you know, I do that FlashCard UML. I don't want to do them for all of them, but I'll probably do them for some of these other ones as well.